wanted to call upon our old friend Tyron Woodley to hang out with us. He knows AJ McKee quite well. He's one of the best commentators in the business. He has done some commentary work, of course, for PFL this season and done a fantastic job. But he said, he said to the guys I heard, oh, they're like, do you want to go to Riyadh or do you want to do Helwanivsion? And he said Helwanivsion. Let's say hello to the realist, Tyron Woodley. There he is, my guy.
Let's go. What's up, my guy?
How are you, Tyron?
Man, I'm happy to be on the Helwanivsion. First time first, you know what I mean? Blessing and thankful that you had me a part of it.
Yeah, so you're our first guest. Technically, we had Rob just kind of set things up, but as far as the fights are concerned, and one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on was because you have a long-standing relationship with AJ McKee, right?
For sure. Yeah, AJ McKee, I've known him since he was in high school. I think he was a freshman in high school, maybe even in middle school. I was training with his father, Antonio McKee, which is one of the best MMA coaches in the world. But AJ never had that hesitation. Even as a young kid, he was always trying to wrestle me. I remember leaving practice all scratched up because he was scratching, trying to take me down. But he never thought it was a chance that I shouldn't be able to take him down. Though he's a two-time All-American, though he's a ranked MMA fighter. At that time, I wasn't a champion yet. But just that ability to not have that hesitation makes him a very dangerous fighter. I don't want to compare names, but when you think about fighters without hesitation, we think about like a John Jones, right? Skill set, they're different. They fight completely different. But John Jones is inside tripping. He's double leg taking down Daniel Cormier. He's doing different things that you may not think will work in an MMA fight based upon what everybody else technique. AJ's that guy. He's doing weird submissions. And in the room, you know what I mean? I seen the face off. He said, no, I'm going to break you. I'm going to whoop your ass. I'm going to break you. And it sounds like that's what the fans want to hear, but this is how they talk to each other in practice. This is what it's like at a body shop in Long Beach, right? And they do it, and they train hard, and he's a special, special talent.
We're seeing Paul Hughes here making his official PFL debut. He fought for Bellator in June in Ireland, but I just want to stick with AJ if I can. What's the dynamic like with his dad? Because I know AJ, obviously senior, that is, I mean, legend of the game, a guy who took no BS from anyone, kind of wasn't the flashiest guy, but just got it done. And I see the relationship that he has with his son, and it's tough. And it's always interesting when you see the father-son relationship in the fight game. We've seen this throughout time, and it's always fascinating to me how that dynamic works. From what you saw in terms of how Senior was with Junior and how he brought him up and how tough he was on him, what could you tell us?
I mean, he didn't really have to be as tough on AJ, to be honest. I mean, AJ was always internally motivated. And whether it's AJ or anybody, any coach is kind of a father figure, right? Any coach that you are trusting, the trust that he has from AJ, the ability to say, hey, you know what? I need you to go and get this takedown. Or, hey, like he told me, I talked to Antonio the other day, actually yesterday. I talked to Antonio yesterday. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I can't sleep. So I talked to him. And he said, this kid that AJ's fighting is a dog, right? He said, this kid is real tough. He said, but AJ likes it. AJ said, I can't wait to just punch him in the face, right? And when you have a relationship of just genuineness and realness and not just saying what you think everybody want to hear, if he's not feeling good, if he's walking around and he's nursing something or if he just don't feel like himself, he's going to really honestly and truly say that to his father. And me and Antonio have a relationship where he would translate that to me. So when I spoke to him, I said, you know what, I'm gonna talk about AJ and I'm talking about Paul tomorrow. Let me know what's different about this training camp. Let me know what he did inside. He said, AJ is breaking all his records. Antonio does a lot of tracking of, like, he put a meter in your boxing gloves to track the punches. I'm nowhere near these guys. Neither was Chuck Liddell. Neither was Rampage. We're a little bit older. These young guys are punching 900 times a round, right? I think I was at like 300 or 400, right? So he said he's PR'd on all levels, which means that doesn't mean he's going to throw a special combination. That means that his volume and his endurance to be able to punch somebody. So when someone said, I'm going to break you, right? When you have the stats in the calculations to show that I am punching more volume punches per round than I've ever done in my life, and I'm fighting against a tough guy. This kid, Paul, is really slick. He's sharp. He got good timing. I'm not going to compare him to Conor, but they check hook for the knockout. He you got to think about it. He's been watching Conor, right?
Yeah,
and Conor's known for his
He has
timing.
said Conor's
He's
his hero. Like he looked up to Conor growing up in Northern Ireland.
Conor had amazing timing, right? That's what separated him. And he also was playing the mind game. That's how he got Jose Aldo to come off the ripper and run forward. He slipped him and clipped him with a shot. We've seen Paul with the same kind of deal. AJ smart enough and Antonio smart enough to watch that on film, watch that on video, and be prepared for it.
Yeah, Paul Hughes is someone who, like I said earlier, decided to go the PFL route as opposed to the UFC route. He had 2 offers on the table coming out of Cage Warriors. He said it was a no-brainer just because of the money that was being offered to him. And PFL does have to, overpay for free agents because they're trying to compete with the UFC eventually down the road. And so he looked solid, I thought, in his debut back in June. But this is a massive, massive step up. And I have to say, I was a little surprised because everything seemed to be gearing up for him to be a part of the PFL season in 2025. So I thought they'd kind of ease him in, get 2 nice wins, and then he can debut at 155 for the new season in April. They're giving him AJ McKee, who's only a slight favorite going into this fight. But even Dan Hardy told our own PT Carroll yesterday, he too was surprised. He thought this was too big of a jump initially when he heard about it. Do you think he is making a mistake by taking this fight? We're getting it in right before the fight starts. What do you think? Is this too big of a jump for Paul considering
I don't think
he's fought?
I don't think it's too big of a jump, but I did watch you guys. Yeah, I had interviewed him earlier, and he said he waits on no one. He wants to fight. When a young kid want to fight, let him fight because you don't know who he can be. You remember that time when I wanted to fight Carlos Condon and I was screaming and yelling? People thought I was crazy, and I got the job done. So at the end of the day, I don't think it's too early. He did give AJ a lot of credit. Right? He did talk about how dangerous and how good he was. And he did say, I watched him. Both of these guys are giving each other credit, right? That means they train and prepare properly based upon what they saw on film. But one thing that I did see, Paul said that AJ, he got the work done. He already won his belts. And, you know what I mean? He was talking about him like he was mere, like he's in his 40s. AJ's not 30 yet. And AJ is still getting better. He's still a young fighter with maybe only 50% reach towards the ceiling. So when you look at Paul, if he's thinking that he's a younger, more fresh fighter, and he's going to try to use youth as a weapon, I think he may walk into some stuff.
So AJ's last 4 fights have all been victories since he moved up to 155. But I feel like the last one against Clay Collard in Saudi Arabia was his best. The first couple, it didn't seem like he was fully comfortable at 55. What have you seen in terms of the difference between him as a lightweight as opposed to a featherweight?
I mean, his manhood just dropped down a little bit. You know what I mean? When you think about his strength, when you think about his power, when you think about his experience, right? He's pressing towards 30 fights. So when you start looking at someone that's younger, right? They're learning on the go, right? They're making mistakes and correcting those mistakes and becoming a better fighter, right? I feel like he's comfortable on his back. He's comfortable in brawls. He's comfortable in point fighting. He's comfortable kicking. He's comfortable punching. He's comfortable wrestling. And if you happen to take him down, you know what I mean? He's very long. So when you are a guy with that length, you know, like him or Max Holloway, you can go from 45 to 55, even to 70, just because he's 5'10". So I feel like he's understanding his body more and using his length and his strengths.
Shout out to Big Dan, New Jersey's finest. All right, Tyron, we're going to watch this fight together. This is
Let's
good
do
stuff.
it.
You can see the fight too, right?
I can see the fight for sure.
Yeah, here we go. Okay, can we get a prediction right before it starts, right now?
I feel like it's going to be a first-round finish.
Wow.
For AJ McKee.
Sub or knockout?
I think it's going to be a submission. I feel like Paul has some strong hands, and I feel like he may land some shots, and it may end up in a clinch because he pressed forward. He sits back, and then he comes forward a little bit. So I think that's going to get us in the clinch, and I think from that position, you're going to see AJ do his work on the grappling. That's his advantage. If I would say the strongest advantage AJ has is his submission and his grappling.
Yes. He's had plenty of great submission and had an amazing one not that long ago when he fought Clay Collard. So, yes, you are here with us. Helwanivsion, Tyron Woodley is here with us as well. That was a triangle armbar back in February. What do we see? What do we see here?
Right now, we see exactly what we said. You know, Paul's taking his time, but he's going to start walking forward. Here goes that wrestling clinch I talked about. When you start talking about Clay Collard, that's one of the best strikers in the entire PFL. So when you see the way he is going towards him, there we go with the flying knee. All right. We go with the grappling. Clinch. This is where you win the battles at right here. A lot of guys exhaust themselves and they overexert energy in this clinch position. AJ is going to understand. See, he came right up to the body lock. He understands that I'm not going to get the single leg. The guy has his defense too tight. Now, what Hughes needs to do right here is circle off. He needs to circle off and get his back to the center of the cage, the smart cage, so he can start utilizing striking. He started getting some shots off, right? And I felt like he may have gotten some shots off. That's why I said earlier, that's going to start the clinch, and that's where we're seeing right now.
I mean, obviously, the knock on the European fighters back in the day has always been their lack of grappling, but they've come a long way. And Hughes is kind of this new generation who look really good in Cage Warriors, but everyone would agree has never fought anyone as talented as AJ McKee. And even in his debut in Bellator back in June, he, the first round was a little troublesome, but then he figured things out, and that was a big one for him. That was back, in Ireland, in Dublin, at the 3 Arena, so there was a lot of pressure on his shoulders. So I'm curious to see how he looks.
Yeah, you definitely see a lot of European fighters at least be able to neutralize, at least be able to get to a place where it's 2 against 1, meaning that the cage is going to help me defend the shot as well as my defense. Right now, this is where Hughes needs to be at. He needs to be pressing forward, give a little bit of space, and then once he see AJ come forward, then try to throw more hands. But AJ's doing the right thing. He's not using a lot of energy here. You see, he got the wrist control to minimize damage, but he's also leaning with his body and he's using his legs to put heavy weight on Paul.
Feels like Paul is waiting for that shot, right? He's tried to time that knee twice. First time he may have connected, not the second.
I mean, the knee is something that you don't want to play around with, play games with. AJ is ducking his head too often for my comfort, and I feel like somebody throw 5 of them, one of them gonna land. Now we just dealing with where did it land? Did it land flush, and how did you recover? See, this is the part right here where I feel like AJ is way more comfortable than he's looking. Right now, he's taking some shots from above, though. Listen, don't get it twisted. He getting hit.
Paul's game.
Yeah, but I think the good thing about that is both fighters knew that each other were going to be tough opponents, and I love to see these young fighters willing to take a challenge sooner than for a title fight or 10 fights down the road, 20 fights down the road.
I don't know what the boos are about. This has been fun so far.
I was about to say it's only 4 minutes into the fight. It's been pretty action-packed.
Yeah. One thing that's important to note here, Tyron, all the unified rules of MMA are allowed here. So elbows are allowed. This is
elbows are allowed.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. One time I was on the desk and they were asking me, Tyron, what would you do for this position? I said, I would elbow. Yeah. They said, well, you can't elbow in the PFL. I said, you didn't ask me what you can do in the PFL. You asked me what I would do.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? I feel like they should allow them.
I think you should allow the elbows. I don't like knees to the head when the opponent's ground. Kind of the prior rules.
So the thought is just that guys would get cut up and then they won't be able to advance in the tournaments?
I feel like it takes more space to create and throw a punch. You can be losing a fight, and if you can just get a couple elbows and cut somebody across the eye, that can change the tide of the fight. But I feel like in general, it takes more technique to create space to throw a punch.
I would love to see them use them for all the fights, but they'll use them for these sort of one-off events. I thought that was a really fun round. Ooh, another knee.
Yeah, we got to watch out for them knees.
Ooh! Oh! He rocked him there.
He rocked him really well.
And by the way,
let's see if he recovers.
The round just went like an extra 4 seconds. I think Mergliata didn't hear it.
Did that shot come before or after the round?
I think it came right before the end. That was a nice...
Yeah. Right now, that round, I mean,
it's
the tough. I mean, we can't see can we see the time?
No. Look at that right hand. That right hand rocked him.
Yeah, the right hand rocked him. Paul has some heavy hands.
I would say pretty easy 10-9 for Paul, right?
I wouldn't say pretty easily, but I would probably
especially with that fight. I mean, he was...
Yeah. I mean, he ended the round. If it was close before the end, then he took it over. Also, when you think about, the knee strikes, when you think about the pressure, he kept AJ back against the cage. And then also the times where AJ was going for the takedown, he did a great job of defending it. So I would say clear, maybe one judge sitting there that gave it to AJ, but AJ definitely needs to get on the horse. He definitely needs to think about 2 and 3.
Shout out to CR7.
That's what happened with these 3-round fights.
Yeah, no, it's a quick.
You gotta go fast.
Cristiano Ronaldo in the house. That's pretty cool. What do you think Senior was telling Junior in between round 1 and 2 here?
He told him he lost a round.
Hope
He
so.
told him to pick it up. I mean, I can't hear him, but I know McKee.
Yeah.
Hey, put your hands up. You leaning too much on that knee. Don't force a takedown. You don't have to. If I was coaching, which I'm not, and I don't have the relationship that his father had, I would stick to long strikes. Paul has only done great on short hooking, overhands, left hooks, and things from like middle distance to close range. I would stick to long jabs, push kicks, keep him off of you, and that way when he throws a shot, you can see it, evade back, and count on it.
McKee's reach 3.5 inches longer than Paul Hughes, so he should try to use that to his advantage. Although he wants to get this fight to the ground, probably, right? So in doing so, he's trying to keep the fight close as well.
Yeah, I mean, we need to keep that left hand up.
Yeah.
We need to quit ducking our head. You can disguise the takedowns with shots. Throw 3 or 4 punches fast towards the head, get him to cover, and then go for the shots. Otherwise, I mean, Hughes is committed to that knee. He's committed to landing it. He's committed to that right hand. There we go again, right hand. It's still a pretty competitive fight. Looking outside, we love to see nonstop action, but if you're actually fighting in a fight like this, you're going to be breathing hard in a little bit.
By the way, we were seeing a lot of clinching in the first round. There's been a lot of clinching that's been in the in the news as of late. People were upset about the Jose Aldo fight. Conor McGregor put out a point system. Did you happen to see that, where there's a clock and all that stuff? Do you think that should come into play?
I feel like it's called mixed martial arts. I love watching striking. I love a knockout. I love good kicks. But you got to also give time and room for the other martial arts to exist, unless you want to just switch it over to striking. So when people want to, nobody's going to say, okay, stop punching, right? Okay, well, stop elbowing or stop kicking. You can't tell somebody to stop grappling, because sometimes it takes a little bit to gain that position, or maybe sweat involved, right? Or maybe if I do this, he's going to escape and I'm going to be in a bad situation. So it takes a little time sometimes. Right now, I feel like AJ is doing a good job of understanding where he needs to be at. He needs to be with his back to the center of the cage. He needs to be pressing Hughes forward. He does not need to be backing up, because his left hand is dropping too often, and he's going to look at a knee, he's going to look at a right hand. Shoulder punches right here, foot stumps, and then try to lock a body lock and pull him off the cage, almost like it's like a backboard. Pull him off the cage and then get him down and go to work. When you get him on the ground, he got to really go to work.
If I'm Paul Hughes, I'm feeling good, right? Like, my confidence is only growing, when all the talk was that this is maybe too big of a step up for me.
I mean, if I'm him and if I'm his coaches, he's looking good. I mean, I haven't seen a million of his fights. I saw a few fights. But what I would be like, hey, do what you're doing. It's kind of like when I fought Roy McDonald. Roy McDonald never closed the gap all the way. He came in just enough where he knew where his range was at, and he waited and he started to try to pick shots. It's very difficult to fight that way. And that's what Paul is doing right now to AJ. He's getting close enough where he may be able to get hit with a jab, but he can step back and come forward, because he needs to come forward.
Is that below the belt?
What time is it in Saudi Arabia?
Right now, they are 7 hours ahead, so it's 11:34 p.m.
Okay, that's not too bad for the first fight. You start getting to the main event, it's weird when you see guys fighting 3, 4 in the morning.
Yo, I went to that Francis fight against AJ. It was at like 3:30 in the morning. It was brutal.
Do you think it affects the guy's performance?
I mean, AJ looked fine. Francis said afterwards that he was sleepy. And I still maintain they had that UFC pay-per-view in Manchester, and Leon fought at like 5 in the morning. Bilal got mad that I brought this up. I was just saying, I think if that fight happens at a normal time, Leon doesn't look as lethargic. Everyone handles these things differently. I mean, but like, come on, 5 in the morning?
I feel like when Jake fought Fury, I feel like it was lethargic looking. I felt like anytime you fight in a huge different time zone, I don't care how many days you get out early and try to acclimate, it ain't nothing like, why am I fighting at 4 in the morning?
Right.
Oh. Capitalize. Take his back, leg in, and And tell AJ McKee right now, he needs to really, really understand that this is that's almost like a turnover, fumble, right? So he need to really, really, really press the issue on a back take right now, cross wrist control, and looking for the neck, right? And trying to keep Hughes down because Hughes is starting to get in rhythm. He's starting to get his time. He's starting to get confident. You don't want to let a young, spunky fighter start to get confidence.
Who do you have this round for?
It's close right now.
Close.
Maybe I don't want to sound like I'm showing favoritism to my dog AJ, but it's close. I wouldn't be surprised if they said AJ won, but if they said Paul won too, I can see he started off strong.
I mean, I would say Paul first round. You can make a case. I mean, he's landing some big shots. In terms of damage, it feels like Paul's the one doing the damage.
Yeah, like I told you, man, you see that middle close distance?
Yeah.
That's the range AJ needs to stay away from. Those knees. See, that was a 6 inches away from being night-night, right? So you got to keep them long, keep them jabbed, teeps to the face, long strikes, step back, throw fast punches, then go for a takedown. If I'm Antonio, even if they're hello?
Yeah.
I'm listening to him. He's saying throw you straight left, straight down the middle. He's trying to cut you off.
That was a better round.
I agree with that. It was a better round, but I would tell him, act like you lost that round. Act like you need to finish.
I'm a big proponent of open scoring, Tyron. Like, would it be great if AJ knew where he stood right now, or do you think it's more detrimental?
I'm a huge advocate of that. Everybody will fight differently. If you up, maybe you won't go out there and just swing for the finishes. If you're losing, maybe you have a little bit more urgency. So more people need to adopt that, open scoring.
The detractors say, oh, if you know you're up 2-0, you're just going to chill. But, like, you can't just run around the cage. You still have to engage.
I mean, let me tell you this. Are we going to really act like the fans are less educated than some of the judges? No, some of the fans are more educated than the judges. Some of them actually wrestled before and know how big of a deal it is if Paul Hughes takes AJ down, right, versus the opposite. Or, you know what I mean? So I think open scoring, it'll be too many people judging for it to be a huge percentage of error, right?
But if they flashed it on the screen right now and AJ's like, all right, I'm down 2-0, I need to go for broke. Maybe he's not doing this right now. And maybe go for broke for him is to try to get a sub. But
I'm curious on what takedown what if he gets his takedown, I'm curious on, is he trying to advance to a back take? Because once you get it, what's the advancement, right? If you're looking at this fight, Ariel, are you thinking that Paul's up 2-0?
Certainly 1-0. I could see a very strong case for 2.
So one judge at least got him up 2-0, guaranteed, out of 3 judges, right? So now he has to not only win this round, he would have to either try to do a 10-8 or finish based upon one judge minimum. It's at least one judge that gave 2 rounds to Paul, right?
100%.
Yeah, and when you're fighting, you can't think about all that. Cross wrist. The body lock is, anytime you got the body lock, the person can always get underhook, turn their body, use the cage once again, right? Once you grab that cross wrist, you control that one side of their body. So if AJ takes his right hand and grabs Paul's left wrist, now he can take his left hand, post it, and almost like pull him down to the mat where now he has no post. So if I got 4 legs on the table, I'm going to take away one leg, and I'm going to take your whole body to the missing leg. That's what he needs to do in this situation, because right now it's been 2 or 3 rounds of him trying for this particular takedown, being in this particular position, and he has not done anything damage-worthy where it's going to make the referee want to step in and stop the fight. That's what it needs to be looking like really soon. Halfway through this round, it needs to be looking that way.
He has not really advanced from this spot, right? There's never been a position where he's threatened for anything past here with a submission, and that's what he's trying to get him down to submit him, right?
Yeah, cross wrist right here, like the right hand of AJ grabbing the wrist, the left wrist of Paul. He can grab that wrist and he can just really rake him right to the left, and he don't have it.
Look at Paul.
No, Paul wants this win.
Damn. Ooh, spinning back fist. I mean, Paul rocked him twice there with the left. I am supremely impressed. I wasn't blown away by Paul in June in his Bellator debut. They called his signing the biggest free agent signing of the year. He is backing it up right now. This is a very impressive performance against a former featherweight champion who's
right now
lightweight.
Right now, like the fight that he fought before may not have looked as impressive, but right now he's found his range and he's found what's working for him, and he hasn't aborted it. He's nonstop in that middle distance close range against AJ, and AJ right now is looking like the fight's catching up to him, right? And he's also looking like, I'm looking for a big move, but I don't see it quite yet, right?
There's nothing there. You mentioned the right hand. The right hand is down. He is connecting with that left every time, it seems. There's nothing going on. I mean, look, we were debating round 2. This is very clearly Paul Hughes' round, right?
Really?
I
don't know. I mean, so far the first portion was AJ clinching. Once again, this is MMA, but we already know you're gonna score the powerful
damage
striking. One thing that Paul has on his side, this fight and every other fight, anytime you can punch somebody and you see the grimace and you see the power and you see how much he's throwing with it, that's going to score higher. A Robbie Lawler punch is going to score higher, right, than 5,000, 10 million punches, right? So when you're looking at this, I would have to maybe agree.
To me, this is at worst 29-28 for Paul Hughes, unless something dramatic happens here in the last 6 seconds. This is a fantastic performance by the young man from Northern Ireland.
It's so funny when I call him Paul a young man, because AJ used to be the young man, but technically he's 29 years old. So when you look at it, this is, if it's a victory, it's a big victory for him. It's a former world champion, a kid that's, Pitbull is no slouch, right? And that was a close fight, a lot of people said. So technically, this kid, he may have had the best victory of his career.
Absolutely. He's only 2 years younger, so there's not a massive difference. Paul does look a little younger, but I was impressed. What were you most impressed by as far as Paul, as we look back at the highlights of the fight?
I was most impressed by his consistency and his IQ of understanding. Like sometimes you win or you can't see what you're doing is working, and your coach has got to tell you, you got to watch it on film. He's right there. Look at him. He's in range knowing that this is my range. I found it. Let me stay right here. Let me stay right here. Let me disengage the clinch, right? And let me get to the middle range. Because from close range to middle range is one step, right? He took one step back, and that's where you start finding those body shots, those overhand right hooks. And we'll see what happens, but
the boxing was crisp, huh?
No, he was crispy.
Look, by the way, I know you do a lot of work over there in the Middle East. I
was just there.
Yeah, you're just like, that's my spot.
It's so funny looking at it this way because like all these spots I've been to.
Are you coming back to MMA? I saw some stuff. Are you coming back? You got something in the works. What do you got? Break some news for us here.
I'm coming back to MMA. I never really left. I just took a break. I needed a break from there's a lot of politics, a lot of, how do I say this without being ungrateful for my opportunity to show the world I was the best in the world. It was a lot of things that went into fighting that wasn't just fighting. So I needed a break. And then the Jake Paul fights, they were so fun. I've always wanted to box. You know what I mean? I didn't have to cut from 205 all the way down to 170. You know what I mean? It was a nice payday. It was a great time for me to be excited about fighting. I switched it up, right? Now I feel like training in Miami, you know what I mean? Not having to cut weight, only doing one martial art, right? I was training hard, but it's something about being negative 14 degrees in Milwaukee and having to do 4 or 5 different martial arts. I need to get back to that mode.
Well, I have much more to ask you about here, but let's hear.
28. He sees it for Hughes.
29. Oh, split decision, it sounds like.
Judge.
Told you.
Mark Collette, 29-28, scoring the fight for McKee.
Nah, come
Your third and final judge, Sal D'Amato, 29-28 for the winner by split decision. Big news!
Yeah, that's the right call.
It was a good performance by Paul Hughes. Let's say that. Obviously, AJ is my dog, but I can't be a commentator and then be biased, right?
Yeah, no.
I got to keep it real. He found his range, and I feel like for a young fighter that understands this is working and have the IQ to continue, he's a dangerous one.
Very,
and he's got power,
up, Paul Hughes,
and he's hard to take down.
You're a superstar. I want to get to that.
But he's very emotional there. There was a lot at stake in this fight because he signed that big contract, and then he took the fight back home. It was all built around him, and then he gets this win. So congratulations to Paul. Commiserations to
One
AJ.
time for Paul.
Yeah. Shout out, big news. Okay, so what do you got for us? When is the return coming?
2025 return to MMA. Right now, I'm trying to get this body. I ain't touched a kneecap to a mat in so long. You know what I mean? I'm not just jumping back into it, and I'm not just coming back in to, just come in to say I did it. When you look at the sport, the class of Woodley, right? The class that I was in, these guys are retiring or thinking about retiring, right? I want to get a run at it where people be like, dang, these guys are retiring, but Tyron's coming back, because you got to think my body's going to be fresher. I haven't had the wear and tear like I did back in the day, but I'm just going to take some time. I'm going to go out to AK Thailand. I'm going to go out to Costa Rica with my coach GT. I'm going to take 4 weeks to get away from everybody, the noise, women, you know what I mean? Just anything that can distract me, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm going to take that time to get in shape, get my body acclimated to once again grappling, once again wrestling, and then I'm going to take the full 8 weeks on a training camp. Because you got to recognize I've been jumping into fights with not much training camp. That ain't really my speed.
Do you have a deal in place? Do you have an offer on the table?
I have an offer on the table for sure, and I'm working on that right now.
With a promotion,
I feel like
with a specific promotion?
With a promotion, but I feel like that promotion is making other people want to, now that they know I'm want to do MMA, other people are coming up as well. So I'm negotiating with one, but I got a couple other people that want to piggyback. They want to hear what I'm getting offered there and maybe even match it or do something different.
When you say you're negotiating, you don't mean with one as in one championship. You mean you're negotiating with a singular promotion.
With the singular promotion.
Got it. All right.
There we go. See, that's why you're the best.
Which promotion, by the way?
I can't say the promotion yet. It's a lot of NDA stuff in there. Plus, I don't want to give it away because it ain't done yet.
All right, fair enough.
I don't want to give them any leverage, right? Because technically, to have a 5-time world champion fight for a league outside the UFC, and I can say that it's outside the UFC. I can't say that.
Okay.
Right. So any league outside of the UFC to be able to utilize the UFC champion, they got to pay a little bit.
And
so
is there an opponent attached to this, or is it just promotion wants you to fight and we'll figure out the opponent? Sort of like Francis, there was no opponent initially attached.
It's very similar to that. And I shout out to Marquise Martin. Shout out to Francis. They really set the table. You know, we know exactly, at least minimum, what Henafed is making, right? We know that, right? Because it was in his contract. So you can't tell me that this guy's going to make $2 million, right? A fight, and I'm not. And I won 5 straps, right? So he kind of raised the bar. So shout out to those guys. You know, that was something creative, and I think it was great for the sport.
And is this a one-off, or do you think you'll be back for a few more?
It's multiple. It's a potential of multiple fights.
Interesting. All right. First half of the year, second half of the year, what are we thinking?
First half of the year, and don't forget, I started my own promotion company, the Realist International Promotion Trip.
Damn.
I will cap off the year fighting underneath my own banner.
Wow.
And launching it.
170 or 185?
185.
Okay. All right. Those weight cut days are over, huh?
I'm not going to say it's over. I mean, for a lot of money and the right opportunity, you know what I mean, for sure. But I weighed 205. I never spoke on it. That's why I had no shields for Kelvin, because I cut so much weight. I had no mercy for Johnny Hendricks. I did, because, you know what I mean, I felt bad for him a little bit. But at the end of the day, that's a lot of weight cutting. So I could do it. I could make it, but it would have to be a lot of money. It would have to be a fight that really excited me.
Tyron, you're the man. This was a lot of fun. Appreciate you joining us.
Man, I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, this was so much fun. Great insight, tremendous insight. You did a great job. Love having you on. Love chatting with you, and this was just as expected. So well done. We'll talk to you soon, and appreciate you stopping by on this Saturday.
I love my man.
There he is, the great Tyron Woodley. What a guy.